Welcome to today's episode of Two Pigs in a Pod, a podcast for the people of Glazing by the people of Glazing. I'm George Lewis, editor at the People in Glazing Society, and I'm your host. And I'm delighted to welcome onto the show today David Applegate. Welcome to the show, David.
Hi, George. Thanks ever so much for having me on.
No, an absolute pleasure to get you on. So, as we always do with our first question is for people to introduce themselves and what they do within our industry.
Yeah, well, my name's David Applegate. I co-own Help to Buy Windows, based up in Norwich. I've been in the industry a fair while, and Help to Buy Windows. We basically we provide a service for customers that connects them with companies that can offer services with incentives, grants, funding, bits and pieces available. And then we basically use a portion to basically provide free windows and doors for people in really difficult circumstances and community projects as well.
Nice. And you say you've been in the industry for quite a while. What was your sort of entry into the sector? I'm sure lots of people, have their different ways of in it, but what was yours?
So I was, it's a funny story. I was in my early teens. And I was 13 years old and I was a paper boy, and I was lugging paper bags up and down hills on my paper round. And I got to 15 and I thought there's got to be an easier way of earning a bit of money. And I was walking down Kings Lynn High Street where I lived at the time, and there was a sign outside that said part-time staff wanted. So I went in and they sat me down and interviewed me. And then when they found out I was 15, they said, "Oh, you can't work here at the moment. You have to come back when you're 16." So on my 16th birthday in 1996, I strolled back into that office and said, "Right, I'm ready. 16 now. Yeah, can I have a job?" And I didn't really know what I was going in for. And basically it was a little call center operation. And back then in the 90s, we used to have these little call centers that you'd had a desk phone, and basically you'd go in and they'd rip you out a page of the BT phone book, slide it across the desk to you and say, "There you go, ring that." And I sort of got a desk phone and I rang a few people up and they told me where to go and slammed the phone down on me a little bit. But a few people just said, "Yeah, come round, give us a quote," and I was amazed that you could take something that was completely intangible. You just take a name and a number out of a phone book, with a bit of a conversation, you could lead to somebody popping around there to giving them a quote. And some of those people that they gave a quote to bought their windows and doors. And I thought, this is great. What a great way to earn money. And yeah, although I got swore at and hung up on and everything else, I was intrigued by the way the industry worked. So yeah, that was how I got into it.
Yeah, and what was your first impressions of the industry as a whole? Like you said, you was going out to customers or potential customers, but what was your first impressions of people on the inside? The first people that you worked with, and the industry of getting to know it.
Yeah, well, you've got to remember we're going back to the 1990s.
Yeah.
And industry got a pretty bad name for the way it conducted itself, in particular some of the direct sales businesses at that time. We've all seen the TV show White Gold, and obviously the conduct back then, and I saw a few bits and pieces that I thought, that's really not on. There's things that I saw that I thought that could definitely be improved. But my first impressions of the industry, what I quickly realized is that sooner or later, every home needs new windows and doors. It's not something that we can avoid. Going to fix themselves. Problems with units and gaskets and locking systems and bits and pieces like that, you can start repairing them and bits and pieces, but often it's better in the same way that when your car starts breaking down, it's sometimes better just to get rid of it and get something a bit more reliable. And the other thing that I saw was that there was people that had been in the industry a fair while, And people turn around and said things like, especially bearing in mind I was in the UPVC sector, people turn around and said things like, well, pretty soon everybody's going to have new windows and doors, and the industry's doomed, kind of thing. And it was that kind of mentality. And what I saw after being in the industry a while was that often the windows that were installed 5, 10 years ago, most people move every 7 years.
Yeah.
And a lot of people just change their windows and doors because they don't particularly like the look of them. They're not what they would have
They're such
chosen.
a focal point, aren't they? Like we all have them, but they're such a
Yeah,
focal point that everyone sees them.
absolutely. And when I saw some of the business that I was focused on was very, very focused on before and after photographs of properties, and transformation that we saw from windows and doors that were outdated, in some cases in awful condition,
Yeah.
to what they were having installed. I was quite proud of that. I thought, okay, yeah, we're making money from it, but at the same time, we get paid once. These people get to use their windows and doors for years and years and
Yeah.
years, and it's, for as bad a reputation as the industry had, there was a lot of good within it as well, and that
Yeah.
that kind of kept me interested.
Yeah. And do you think that good has led you to Help to Buy Windows and sort of setting up the business? You've had that sort of in the back
Absolutely.
of your head the whole way through, and now you want to sort of
Yeah,
you set up your own business to do it yourself.
absolutely. Well, the thing with Help to Buy was that what we saw over the late 90s, the 2000s, was a progression from customers who were um, often now subjected to outdated sales tactics. And by that, what I mean was exactly what I was doing on the phones of
Yeah.
cold calling 5 till 8 p.m. Of sending people out to knock on doors. Now pretty much most areas when they're built are slapped with a no cold calling sign on there. So the industry needed a way to still generate appointments, to still go and generate business, um, but it couldn't rely on those outdated measures
Yeah.
forever. So what we looked to do with Help to Buy was, it started off as purely an online campaign, which was primarily for for double glazing businesses. Um, and what we then did was we then looked at, well, okay, we're making a bit of money via the sale of these appointments. These companies are buying, their appointments. We're Because they're not needing to send people out to knock on, the industry is getting a better name.
Yeah.
Customers are getting a better deal. They're not subjected to, sales pressure, because we vet all of our partners really well. So from a customer point of view, they get a great deal with a better experience. From the industry's point of view, they get in front of more customers. And then from our point of view, one, we make money, obviously, because we have to as a
Yeah.
business. But what we made a decision to do was that we said that from the sale of every appointment that goes out of our business, we would take a portion of the money from the sale of that appointment and we would put it into a grant fund. And we would then use that money to help families in really difficult circumstances, people that are working, people that they don't receive any help, they don't live in council properties, they're not getting any government assistance or anything like that. And we said that we would basically set up the UK's only fund to help people with that small niche of customers
Yeah.
that would never be able to afford new windows and doors, and also should never be in front of a company, because often their circumstances mean that they desperately need new windows, but they have
Yeah.
no means to pay for it. So it's our way of giving back, if you will. And then we incorporated the business in 2018, once we'd established the processes and bits and pieces. And since then, it's just grown and grown, and we
Yeah.
serve huge amounts of clients, and customers all across the country.
Nice. And what was that initial impression, from people that you're dealing with, both client base and customer base, when you said this is what we want to do, we want to, give people free windows and doors. What was that? And
Yeah,
what was the what was the reaction? Was it like, what are you doing? Like, I've never, in our industry, if you
yeah.
do anything new, it's a bit like, well, like, hold on here a minute. Was it the same with you?
Absolutely. Well, one of the things that we knew was that it was always going to come under scrutiny.
Yeah.
Somebody was going to look at it and see the bad in it. I've got a saying that you unfortunately there will always be someone that will moan about a piece of dirt in a bowl of diamonds. And unfortunately, we knew that for all the good we were trying to do with this, that there was going to be folks that looked at it and said, hang on a minute, we don't like that.
Yeah.
And trust me, when you start giving away free windows and doors in an industry that just did not do that, it was a case of, right, we need to be on really firm footing. So what we did was, and it served us so well because the advice we got was invaluable. The first thing we did was reach out to our local trading standards office and say, this is what we're planning to do. Can you come in and have a look at this? And we'll explain everything that we want to do. And they looked over it and they thought it was wonderful. They thought it was great.
Amazing.
However, they turned round and said, you need to ensure that everything you do is auditable, it's transparent, you can prove it, you're backed with policies. And thankfully, we did. We literally went to work and we built the whole thing on, making sure that the customer journey right the way through from advertising through to website, through to our call center process, which we speak to every single customer on a one-to-one basis. Everyone is dealt with on a case-by-case basis, right the way through to either qualifying them for our grant initiative or connecting them with a client that can offer them windows and doors, discounts, whatever. All the way through, everything's built around the advice that we initially got, which is track everything, make sure you document everything, and make sure you can prove it. So
it's nice. And you said you've come from a PVC background, that's what you did for most part of your career. But are you sort of looking, like we met the first time at Fit Show, and obviously we saw all the different materials that are available. Are you looking to sort of add that to your arsenal going forward?
Absolutely. The biggest area of the show for us was, been primarily focused on what we know, and the old saying, you only know what you know. And we'd been primarily focused in the UPVC sector for a lot of years. What came about from our first time exhibiting at the Fit Show was just how many fantastic timber and aluminium businesses are out there that in exactly the same way need to be in front of more customers. Timber windows, for instance, customers that can be serviced in conservation areas or listed buildings. These are something that are not accessible to the UPVC industry. You just can't put those products. It has to be like for like. Yes, it's the same material. So, the opportunity that is there with those other products for us is huge, and also for those timber and aluminium businesses looking to engage with a business that can generate them more customers.
And how do you know, sort of, how does it work for you to get involved with a project? So what goes on behind the scenes that obviously you're allowed to tell us, in terms of someone, a person, a homeowner or a company comes to you and says, like, how does it work from your point of view?
Okay, so if a company is looking to engage with us, there is a link that will go within this podcast as well, which will link to our Become a Partner page. Basically, a company can just link their details, and just pop their details into the form, into the web page, and one of our team will have a call with them We'll go over, we do a fair bit of due diligence to onboard a client, to make sure that they're the right fit for our customers,
Yeah,
and make sure that obviously they deliver what they say they're going to deliver,
of
as
course.
much
Yeah,
as we're going to deliver what we say we're going to deliver. Um, so that's a simple conversation that then starts off. We have an onboarding process that we go through. The wonderful thing about dealing with ourselves is that we we don't need to tie customers into, or clients, I should say, into long-term agreements. So there's no, you know, we've never had to in nearly 11 years of doing this year. We've never had to tie a customer into a contract that they couldn't get out of. Clients keep using us because what we do works, and
yeah,
I guess that's the biggest testament to our business, that if what we did wasn't right, nobody would use us. So it's a really easy way of getting involved with us. They just fill in the form, and one of our team will give them a call. From a customer's point of view, equally, if a customer's looking for new windows and doors, they can Google us, they can look on socials, they can look on YouTube, they can look on Trustpilot, they can find our website, pop their details in, and then one of the team will give them a call, and basically just deal with their application on a one-to-one basis with them. We never know who's at the end of the phone. We never know what they're looking for until we speak to them.
yeah.
One of our biggest installations that we did via our grant fund came from a lady that was managing a project down at the Luton and Dunstable Hospital, for their for their neonatal unit there, which that property now houses over 700 families a year
Wow.
that now get to stay near their premature babies, that otherwise that build just was at a complete impasse. And that
Yeah,
that came about because the lady who was managing the build saw us on Facebook or Instagram and put her details in just to inquire.
wow.
Yeah. And we never know, and this is where I always explain to customers and to clients, you can never do that on just a form fill. The
Yeah,
human element of what we do at Help to Buy is the thing that differentiates us from so many other companies that just try and screen something on a web form, or with AI or something like that. Every single customer is dealt with by a human at Help to Buy.
nice. And how does it feel? You just like you said, you've been doing this for 11 years
Mm,
now, and you've seen the business grow, and sort of the
yeah.
projects that you work on grow as well. But how does it feel, inside to be giving so much back to not just
Yeah.
locally, but around the country?
Immensely proud. I honestly feel immensely proud at what we're able to achieve so far, and excited for what we're going to be able to achieve. When we're, the more we can tell our story there, George, and we really, as I say, we really appreciate you having us on. But the more we can tell our story, the more
Yeah,
people that get to see this sort of thing, um, the bigger their business gets, the bigger our business gets, but equally, the more good we can do within this sector, because the more people that use our service, the more funds get generated for grants, and the more grants that get installed,
yeah,
the better this industry is as a whole. So
yeah.
yeah, very proud.
Nice. And speaking of those stories, you spoke about the hospital, but are there any other sort of memorable moments or memorable projects you've done over the years that are sort of really stuck with you?
I think that the one for me that really stuck out was one of the earliest grant installations that we did. And the testimonial is on YouTube. It's from a lady down in Kent, and she says at the end of the testimonial, she said, "I don't know who thought of this, but you've tapped into a really small niche of people that didn't have a voice."
Nice.
And those words, they've stuck with me through all the other ones that we've done.
Yeah,
The fact that these people, no one's helping them.
yeah,
They just fall through the cracks of any sort of support or assistance or funding. There's nothing to help people that are out there trying to earn a living and own their own home, but because of those two factors, yeah, they don't get any help.
Yeah.
And it's just that the system is broken. So it makes me really, I kind of get, I get a bit passionate with it because it really infuriates me that the harder you try sometimes in this country, the more you're penalised, and the
Yeah.
less you try, the more help you get. So I'm really proud to be able to have helped. It isn't just me. We've got a phenomenal team of people that do this, to be able to build something that makes a difference.
Nice.
You
And
know.
what would you say are the challenges? You obviously you had the challenges at the start to for people to understand, what you're
Yeah,
trying to do without thinking, oh, this something sounds not right here. But
yeah.
what other challenges have you faced during your time and as you look ahead to the future?
Yeah, there's always challenges. The industry authorities like to keep things interesting, and it's a balancing act really of continually demonstrating the legitimacy of what we do, along with you know publicizing the good that we do, because to keep pushing it out there.
Yeah,
Um, so it's unfortunately it's the skepticism and scrutiny that it will always come
sure.
under. But thankfully, all of us at Help to Buy, we've got shoulders that we're happy to shoulder that burden.
Nice. And what would you say is your proudest moment?
I think when we received the thank you videos from the Luton and Dunstable Hospital,
Yeah,
they took the time to film those shots themselves. The heads of the departments, the surgeons, the physicians, that they filmed those videos and sent them to us.
nice.
And yeah, it was one of those moments where you really well up when you realize that 700 families a year, you know that would never have been able to stay close to their newborn child
Yeah,
if those windows, not, it was just that the property was at an impasse because of new windows and doors,
yeah,
right? They couldn't get the funding for new windows and doors. How crazy is that, that 700 families were not going to be able to have that situation because of some new windows and doors. Yeah,
yeah.
to be able to install those there, you know, that household now provides a base for those families to stay near those young children. And one of my personal friends had a young child that was born prematurely and said, I actually stayed in that property.
Yeah.
you know to be able to do that, it's phenomenal. And that's part of why we were so keen to come on here, George, because for as great as that project is, if somebody has got a project that is at an impasse, please, please, please reach out to us. Yeah, please reach out to us. We would love to help you. If your build is at an impasse, if you've got a community project, a charitable project, a health care facility that is desperately in need of new windows and doors, then please get in touch.
Perfect. Yeah. Before we move on to the last question, it's just an interesting thought by what you've been saying is that, we think about a hospital and we think of all, everything that's inside of a hospital, but actually without windows, it can't work, so it's like
Nothing
it's such a
happens. Yeah,
important part of a hospital that we probably, 99% of people don't even think
no,
about, if there's no windows, then you can't have it like with a
absolutely,
neonatal unit or any other unit for that matter.
absolutely.
Yeah, it's crazy. And yeah, to go on to our last question, what's the future look like for Help to Buy Windows? Have you got any projects that you can tell us that you're sort of about to get involved with, or getting involved with
Yeah.
that you can tell us about?
Um, we've got a few on the back burner over here, but one of the things that we are looking at the moment is, could we could we take what we're doing internationally, and
Nice.
could we make a difference globally with this? Um, that's a big step.
Yeah.
It's a big step. It's an exciting step. Um, it's something that we're exploring at the moment. And you know, if this is something that we can start doing on an international basis, then that would just be incredible, you know.
Yeah.
So
Oh, well, yeah, good luck. And obviously if you go internationally, we would love to have you back on to tell us all about,
yeah,
your international projects, and yeah, we'd love to hear about it.
yeah.
Perfect. Well, thank you, David. We're going to
George,
move on
thank
to
you
our
so much.
We're going to move on to our quick fire question round now. So if you've seen our previous episode, it's
Okay.
just quick fire questions, easy stuff. It's just one word, one sentence answer. And yeah, first thing that pops to your head. So the thing we
Okay.
always start with, do you prefer talking over email or by phone? I think I know this answer.
Fine.
Nice. What's your favorite thing to do outside of work?
Walking, of all
Nice.
things.
What's one thing you can't live without?
Oh, for my sins, energy drinks. Ugh,
I
sorry.
feel you. What's the best piece of career advice you've ever received?
The bigger your business gets, the more compliant it needs to be.
Nice. What's your preferred work environment? You prefer something, a bit quieter, where you can get things done, or you like a buzzing office?
Quieter.
No. And what's the first gig you ever attended?
Oh, red hot chili peppers.
And lastly, what would be one word to describe yourself?
Oh, passionate.
Nice. Love it. Perfect. Well, thanks very much for that, David. Yeah, so for our last piece of the podcast, we like to get our guests to give a shout out. It can be to people in the industry, out the industry, people you work with, friends, family, whoever it may be. So, yeah, who do you want to shout
out? I'd love to shout out all the people that have mentored me over the years within the double glazing industry and within the other industries that I've been a part of. Without those people imparting their knowledge onto me, that we wouldn't have a business like we've got at the moment. Huge shout out to everybody at Help to Buy Windows. Huge shout out to everybody within our parent group. We have a phenomenal team of people, and I'm a big believer that no man is an island. And the success of what we do is built on everybody that's part of this business and the group of businesses that we're part of as well. So massive shout out to everybody involved. And finally, a huge shout out to everybody that has used our service, whether it be clients that we work with, or customers, the end users, from the options that we've got available. Every single one has helped to make a difference and help build this business. So huge shout out.
Perfect. Well, yeah, thanks so much, David, for getting you on the podcast and, to hear about not only your career, but, Help to Buy, which is obviously an amazing thing that you're doing. It goes without saying. And, best of luck for the future and, going international.
Thank you very much, George. I really appreciate it. Thanks for having me on.
So that's it for today. So I hope you can join us for another episode soon. You can find David's episode and all our others on our YouTube channel at People in Glazing Society, available to download on Spotify, Amazon Music and Apple Podcasts, and also available on our website, www.peopleinglazing.co.uk. So once again, thanks again to David and see you again soon.